Hello guys, I'm Frank, UX designer from Itera. Been working with design for about 20 plus years. And this is Kjersti.
Hello.
My dear colleague. She's a front-end developer. And hence the title on the talk. How to get the job done in a highly collaborative manner. So it's about accessibility, but I'm guessing most of you have been to enough talks about WCAG and all the requirements and all that. So we're not going to talk about that today, not so much anyway. You will touch on some of them, but not so much. That's not the issue today. The issue today is how to get the job done. Being the experienced old grumpy guy, I'm going to talk about just that, the overall picture, and mainly about what you need to, how you need to rig your organization to be able to do the job, because it's not about you can't just do it. You need to be prepared for it, and then. Kjersti has another angle.
Yeah, I'll go a bit more back to basics and a little bit more about how to collaborate across disciplines.
Yeah. And we will also, this is the agenda. We will also challenge you to come with your experiences at some point during the talk. So be prepared to share. Okay, background, what's it all about? This is the situation today as we see it. And some advice, tips and tricks on how we think we should prepare and do the job. And then she will talk about her story from one project in particular and her key takeaways from that. Okay, why this talk? I basically said it already. We all have been on enough talks about the requirements. This is about the job, like I said. The insight, what's the insight? Well, we started with our own experiences, of course. That's the basic. But then we interviewed some people from other companies and also some customer representatives to get a broader picture. I think it gets more interesting then when we can share. First of all, share both the customer perspective and the consultancy perspective. Are there any customers here or public sector people? I can't see, yeah. So you all are consultants, or? Yeah. Any in-house consultants? Everybody are consultants for hire. Oh, okay. This is okay. I was hoping for some representatives from the customer side, but to get a really exciting discussion here. But okay. We'll manage. But first of all, this is a serious matter. And I'm going to show you a video just to, like a reality check. This is what it's really about. We talk about requirements a lot, but it's really not about that. And this video hopefully will give you a hint. Let's see when it works. Then.
I like computer a lot, and I want to learn more about it because I want to study computer science, so that's my career that I want to to have in the future.
The only thing I need help with is turning the computer on and putting the headset on my head. Other than that, I can operate just about anything else by myself.
It's a real accomplishment. You really feel proud of yourself when you're actually able to make progress and do something without having to ask somebody else, you know. It's like you actually did it by yourself, yay! You know.
Besides an interest in technology, what these people have in common is mobility impairment. But each one is different, and so is the way they use their computers.
It's pretty rare that there'd be a one-size-fits-all technology for people. Each person with a disability with a mobility impairment is going to have a unique setup that's suited to meet their needs, and they need to be the end client that decides, is this technology working for me, or is there something else that I'd rather use that would suit me better?
An individual's mobility impairment may or may not be obvious to others, and people with similar medical conditions may need different types of adaptive technology. The important thing is to work closely with the person using the computer to figure out the best fit.
Pay attention to the individual and what he or she needs, both through observation of him or her in the actual environment in which the technology is being used, and also through consultations with the individual.
We'll show you some examples of adaptive technology that have been used effectively by people with mobility impairments. And we'll start with getting to the computer.
They'll pop up and I'll click on it and it'll just print it out.
Graphical user interfaces are everywhere, and you need to have some sort of a pointing device to access the material on the computer, icons, clicking, pointing, all those things. And so you either need to use a mouse or find an alternative to using the mouse.
Trackballs are a good place to start. The trackball's control surface is easier to manipulate than the mouse. On some trackballs, buttons provide features such as double-clicking, click and hold, and other commands. They can be used on the desk or, for people who use their feet instead of their hands, on the floor. People with good head control but no use of their limbs can use a head-controlled pointing system. This system uses infrared detection and a transmitter or reflector worn on the user's head. It translates head movements into pointer movement on the screen. This can be combined with an on-screen keyboard for full computer control.
Well, the headmaster that I use, it just controls the mouse, the cursor on the keyboard, and the little thing that I blow into, that's the button click.
Switches work with a box or emulator that sends keyboard or mouse commands to the computer. They come in a wide variety and can be controlled with nearly any body part.
Some people will use a switch mounted on an arm, and this arm could be mounted so that it's in just the right location for users. Some may use one switch that's just a on-off switch that then...
Yeah, we'll stop there. I have the link if you want to see the whole video. So what do you think? What do you think why I showed this video? Is it really about the requirements? No, it's for these guys, yeah? These guys are like us, full of aspiration and ambitions. They really want to do well. They want to contribute. And they have some amazing tools. And the video is, there are some really creative tools made, especially for these, for various kinds of disabilities. But the thing is, none of those tools would work if we don't do our job properly with the software part. Code, design, testing, everything we do. Most of those tools are based on semantic code and everything else we do. Just have that in mind. These are the guys we work for. So let's see if we can open the presentation again after the pep talk. Yes, okay. Yeah, I have another example actually. One of the new requirements are about reflow. As you may know, it used to be 200% enlargement. Now it's 400, according to WCAG 2.1. And that boy is a schoolboy. He's doing his learning math. And he is the guy who are really dependent on this requirement. That guy has like 1 to 2% left of his sight, his synsrest in Norwegian. So he almost can't see. But in that situation, you desperately so want to use the little rest of sight you have. He's so into that, using the little sight he has. But to be able to do that, he needs this requirement. So that's why remember him when you come upon that requirement next time. Okay, this is the heavy part. This is a summary of observations of the situation right now. Sorry, right now. We have to go do it a bit quickly. Okay, start with those who are not here, the software market. Those who are, or anyone working on from the software market here. Anyone? No? These are the ones who are creating and selling software, either as a service or otherwise. Still, they are a bit immature. These words are from the customer side. It's not mine, actually. They also are a bit defensive. They are not very fond of specifications with very clear requirements on accessibility. They try to avoid it as much as they can. And on the customer side, there are some hesitance on making the demands when they are doing procurements in tenders and so on, because the software market, the sellers the vendors are not fond of these very strict requirements on accessibility. And then accessibility still not properly integrated in organizations. I will come back to that through a very excellent example from one of our municipalities. But this is about everything from alignment in management to having the expertise in the organization, routines, everything. I'll come back to that. Yeah, like I said, too much focus on regulations, forgetting. One thing is that we forget that the regulations are the absolute minimum. There is no reason why we should put the bar there. Now I'm talking about not the WCAG requirements, the whole set of them, but the regulation is only a part of it, and the regulation are based on the bare minimum, absolute minimum. And then we have back to the video you saw. We're forgetting the fundamentals, human rights, democracy, and economy actually too. It's also profitable, accessibility. And we often forgetting the creative business potential. Just a quick example. This was once a study in how to make a tap accessible for people with mobility disabilities. And this one is a highly commercial success in all the different variants you have seen. But it started with the disability project. More about the situation. And now it's about you and us. And this again is from the customer side. Our customer says we are generally not skilled enough as of today, not experienced enough working on accessibility issues. So if that means you have to decide. Designers can't read code. Developers can't read design. Still have something to work on there. I'll come back to that later. But obviously the collaboration will work better if you understand each other disciplines a bit better. And we don't practice enough. Lots of us have been on talks, maybe some have been on courses, but you really can't expect to be good at anything until you have practiced a lot. Practice on the research part, user testing, problem solving, all that. And with people from the target group, people with disabilities. You can't expect to be good at accessibility if you don't practice related to the actual target group. And still, accessibility is something we kind of do on the side of everything else. Often driven by some enthusiast who have seen the light at some point. Like me, I guess, in our company. Yeah. So, what to do? We integrate accessibility in the organization. And this can be a lot of things. It's about management, like I said, and on all levels. You know, this alignment with the management is almost a cliche today. And it's always about the top management, the top leaders. But my experience is that you will not come anywhere if you don't have all the leaders in the middle with you too, on board too. So that's why it's important to think all levels of management. And then you have the expertise. You need the expertise and the competence. And this is about all of the different disciplines: design, tech, content, testing, project management. All of these need to learn accessibility at some level. Then you have frameworks, governing documents, routines, processes. All of these things we have in companies today, and all of them have to say something about accessibility, how we approach it, how we solve it, how we communicate it, and all that. So, and then we have strategies, objectives, plans, even budgets. All of this. In all of these elements of our organization, there should be something about accessibility. And I forgot to say, this is basically mainly about the public sector and the customer side. Yeah? I don't think your monitor is what you are. I'm still talking about that point. Okay. Yeah. When we saw this room, we had to enlarge the font size and remove half of the points because of you're not too many here now, but with these small screens and people all the way back. So I'm reading from the notes, still on that, but thank you anyway. Recruitment. Accessibility should be an issue when you recruit, and again from the customer side, when you hire people like us. There should be questions about accessibility skills. Have any of you been asked that kind of questions on interviews? No? Well, it should. Yeah, and then procurements, of course, tenders, negotiations, contracts, all that. If you're a customer, you really should put accessibility requirements into the contracts. Yeah. Then we are on the next bullet. Decide your own standards, objectives. I will come back to that too. with the example I have. Aim for more than minimum requirements, like I said. Be clear on your expectations of the market. And I will also come back to that. And then make accessibility as an investment. I have one example on that. Did you know that if we talk about people with disabilities as a target group, as a group, the level of educational level in this group is much higher than in this group. People without disabilities. But still they are below 50% employment grade. More than half of them are unemployed. So there's a real potential. But what you need is, of course, accessible tools for them to operate on. Okay, here's the example. Bergen kommune, they really got it right in so many ways. And it's a pity there is no other people from public sector here, because this is really for them.
But it could be integrated into the private sector as well.
Yeah, of course. City Council resolution, bystyrevedtak in Norwegian. Talk about alignment with the management. They are really aligned with all the way from the top and down to the lowest level of management. That's rare. I don't think any other municipalities in Norway has done that. They have integrated accessibility on all levels in the organization. What I mean by that, I just told you, so I won't go into that again, but it's about expertise, frameworks, design, also a design system which is 100% accessible. I haven't seen it, but they say it is. And of course, that helps a lot. They created their own routines and even tools to take care of all the accessibility requirements they have. And all tools should be accessible. That's not only the website. It's also about internal systems. That's exceptional. They created their own requirements to vendors, and this is when it's really getting interesting. If you want to sell software to Bergen kommune, a private vendor, you know about the accessibility declaration, the new, as part of the regulation as of this year. You know, it's only for public sector, but here they demand any software vendor who wants to sell them something to fill it out and forward it. Then you're really serious about accessibility requirements. So you won't be able to you won't come into consideration if you can't if you don't have that filled out on your specific software you want to sell. That's a shock to many of the vendors. And not only that, they also need to document the process, how they work with accessibility. It's about also about how they develop the competence, the skill set, everything, the routines, everything around the software itself. They need to run demos. Let's say they need to demonstrate how to do a transaction with a screen reader. They have to demonstrate that their software really are accessible. And And the customer here, Bergen kommune, they demand trials or at least be able to test the tool themselves, because they have this expert group in Bergen kommune. So they do a lot of testing themselves before they buy anything. And then they said, yes, we are very strict on requirements, but we are flexible on time. And what they meant by that is that often, obviously, this, like I said, this is often comes as a shock to any vendor. So most commonly, the contract will say that these are the requirements, and you have the acceptance period to fulfill them. That's what I mean by flexible on time. But still, some pretty harsh requirements here. And then I will say, we as consultants, we should encourage our customers to go this way. Of course, it will make our life harder, but this is the way to go. So if you are on a mission, on a project for any public sector actor at least, you should ask them if they heard about Bergen kommune. That's good advice coming from us. Okay. So, what about us then? What should we do? Well, it's not very. Most of it is quite obvious. One thing is to create a subject matter area, and a subject matter expert, at least one, preferably a group of experts, like a cross-functional, interdisciplinary group of experts who can drive the process, And then in Itera we use Slack as a discussion forum. We have our own accessibility channel where we actually share, discuss, and solve problems, accessibility problems, between all the projects we are in at any moment. I think this is a simple but very effective way of building, talking about and learning about accessibility, getting better at it. And then we also have to do some integrations as a consultancy. Management alignment, frameworks, documents, all of that, much is the same. Bid work, how we do bids. Not all bid competitions do say anything about accessibility, but still we should address it as proactive consultants. Again, we should ask about accessibility when we recruit new consultants. We should talk about it in our marketing. And we should do some specific things to build a skill set. And then we're here. Do it all interdisciplinary. That's the first thing. Working with accessibility is highly interdisciplinary kind of work. So when you are doing courses and training, all of it should be interdisciplinary. Designers and developers, testers, should all do this together. Run your own courses. Most of the courses I've been on and read about most of them are beginner courses. Advanced courses in accessibility are hard to find. So we decided to create our own courses and to put the bar higher and go to learn more. So run your own courses. See to the level is high enough. And then there is this thing. Focus on solving problems, not memorizing requirements. I think that you understand what I mean with that. It's too much about requirements still. Focus on solving problems. Practice and practice together. Every consultant should know how to use a screen reader. How many here have know how to use a screen reader? 1, 2, 3. And you really know how to use it, or have you just tested it? Yeah. And I say there is 4 of them. I said, what do I mean by that? Windows have 1, Mac have 1, and then there is 1 in the iPhones, and then there is 1 in Android. And much of it is the same, but there are some differences. And you will meet users with all of the 4. So you need to practice all of them.
It's harsh.
Huh?
It's harsh.
Yeah, it is. But it's fun. Isn't it fun? Yeah. And then user testing. We all know, are there any designers here? 2 designers.
I do, yeah.
Oh, some... You haven't decided? Okay. Yeah. We all have done user testing with normal users. Have you done it with people with disabilities? No. You need to train. You need to practice that. This is really important. And for all those developers, if you are working together with designers, you should ask them, have you practiced the user testing with people with disabilities? If no, shame on them. This is really important. Yes?
How do you go about defining that target group?
Yeah.
As a company, do you contact like the handicap ribbon?
Yeah. That's a very common question. It's hard enough to find normal users when you are doing user testing. Yeah. The good thing is that there are organizations for every kind of disability. So that's one place to start, yes. And then, but then you have also groups in social media, specifically for those different disabilities too. So, and they are more than happy to help you with that. So social media and all the organizations are a good place to start.
I think that the best tip is to contact that organization that has that disability that you want to test. Because wasn't it Christopher that said that they usually want to join because they want to be able to use that software. So they're happy to join.
It's very much in their interest, yeah. Yeah. But since we are into that, just another good advice and important. Be aware that a lot of the guys you will, the informants you will be provided first are normally those who have been to a lot of user tests before, so they are experts on user testing. And that's not good, necessarily. You don't need professional informants when you're doing user testing. So be aware of that. Avoid those hardcore professional user tester informants. Yeah, there's a lot of evaluation tools. Kjersti will talk more about that after. I'm talking about Site Improve, Wave, all of those. How many have tried, know how to use Wave, for instance?
1, 2, 3.
Okay, a couple of 3 hands.
4.
Okay, that's good. Then they will learn something from you after.
Learn and learn.
Yeah. Well, they are very practical and important to know how to use, to do the technical evaluation. And then again, practice on solving problems. And then I added, create your own best practice. And the reason why I did that is that when you look at the criterions, they are very abstract. There's a lot of nuances. There's a lot of ways to interpret them. And you can go crazy if you start to try to understand what they mean, what they really mean. But you can't do that. You can't discuss and all the possibilities, possible solutions forever. You need to decide how you should solve problems. I'm talking about specific problems. So what we, on our last course, I started by saying practically the same. Now we're going to focus on problems, and we are not going to discuss 100 ways of solving every problem. We're going to quickly land on one way of doing it, our way of doing it, which is good enough, and then don't waste too much time pondering about all the other possible solutions. Okay? You don't have time for that. You need to decide. And then, join all the conversations outside the company. Social media, conferences, talks, meetups. There's a lot of things to learn. And this is obvious. And all of you I'm sure, go to meetups and talks. But how many of you have said to yourself that I need to join more of the accessibility talks and conferences and meetups? Yeah? It's like I said, it's still something we do on the side of everything else. So you need to prioritize and find the talk specifically on that on the accessibility subject. You will learn a lot. There is this great group on Facebook. How many are follow that group? What's it called?
But it's Norwegian.
Yeah, it's Norwegian.
Are all of you Norwegian?
Yeah.
Or no? Yeah.
Anyone knows which group I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You should join that group at least. There's a lot of interesting discussions there. And there are also a lot of problem solving happening there too. It's very concrete, to the point, actually, most of it. So that's one place to start.
And I love when they post a video, so I can become more aware of issues.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you need to set of some time to some of these accessibility specific conversations going on. You will learn a lot, like I said. And then again, never forget the fundamentals. What's it all about? I'm guessing some of you are thinking this. Can accessibility fit into our agile process? Of course. And here I was working on a long list of bullets to go into detail, but then I said, no time for that. I'll just give you the one thing you really need, and that is this poster. And you can get it for free, print it, and put it up on the wall. This is about shifting your mindset. And once you have understood and adapted to this, then accessibility will fit into any process like any other bugs or requirements. It's really not hard. Okay? Any questions so far? Comments? Was this okay? Some advice you can use? Hopefully. Okay? Your move.
Then I'll take you back in time. For those of you who have a lot of experience, I'm going to start from scratch. Yes, because this might come as a surprise to many of you, but Frank has a little bit more experience with accessibility than I do. So I'm going to start this journey by taking us back to my school days. Like Frank said, I am a web developer. Discovered coding late 2016 and started on my bachelor's in 2017. And in school, we talked about contrast, we talked about accessibility to some extent. And what I can remember as the most important reminder was to do not remember to put the alternative text on an image, even though nobody really cared what it said. And then I started to work. And we worked on scalability. We worked on creating simple and clean HTML and CSS. And we focused a lot on responsiveness to make sure that our websites were adaptable to mobile, tablet, and desktop. And we focused on creating reusable components and creating a good component library to follow as documentations. Yes. Sorry. And even though these elements are all part of the fundamentals to creating accessible websites, there are only a few of them because there's so many more. And what my problem was before was that never was my projects involved, never was accessibility a part of our daily routine. It was just something that we did if we had time. And I hope that maybe some of you can recognize, because until recently I had that exact thought. But as Frank said, it's about shifting the mindset and treating it as a bug, because it actually is. Because people are not able to use your platform if you're not fixing it. Yes, so we all have to start somewhere. I started in November last year. When I started working with Arbeidstilsynet, and if there are any English-speaking people here, then it's the Norwegian Labour Inspection Authority. I'm not sure if that's the right translation. But they had just launched a new platform. And I joined in to help out with the final improvements and the last bug fixes. And the first introduction, yes, and this was my first introduction to accessibility as a part of our daily routine. And then I thought to myself, okay, I need to get into the specifics of what accessibility actually involves. And I asked myself the question that you said that we don't need to learn them, but yes. I asked myself, what are the WCAG requirements, and do I need to memorize them? And then our team, with an accessibility expert on board, created a checklist, which you can find a template on utilsynet.no. It's quite easy, but...
We basically stole it.
Yeah,
but we are allowed. It's, I didn't mention it, but Utilsynet has an excellent checklist. Have any of you used it, seen it? It's an Excel sheet. I really recommend downloading it and check it out. You can use it for any project where accessibility is an issue.
But did you think that it was easy to decrypt what it actually meant by hitting the targets? No. Yeah, because I didn't understand anything. So good that we had a translator that could give up a sum, or what is it called, an overview of what it actually needed to improve on our website. Yes, so after we went through the checklist, I asked the team again, what tools do I use to check if I have fixed all of the bugs or not? And then number one was most important, learn how to use a screen reader and learn how to navigate the website only using keyboard. And now I think that that could be implemented as a requirement for everyone in the team that is involved in approving a website that before it goes to production. And that includes designer, developer, tester. It's good also if the project manager, project owner, or the customer also are able, if you don't have like a good routine yet on how to test it, then everybody should learn it. It's hard or hard? Is it hard?
No, but it's different.
Yeah, it's
And you need to practice.
yeah.
Yeah.
You need to. Yeah, I thought that it was kind of
Yeah.
with going down and up. The
Yeah,
levels.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit hard, but then I got better and pretty fast. So as long as you try, then you realize also actually that you can see the bugs more easily, because then you notice that, oh shit, I jumped that information there. Why did I jump over that? And then you'll see, okay, I have a bug. Yeah. And as Frank mentioned, we found Wave to be a good tool. There are a lot of good extension tools to your browsers. So if you're working on a specific disability, or if you are trying something else that Wave does not cover, then Google it and you will probably find a good one, because people have been working on accessibility since the web appeared, probably. I have no idea.
More or less.
Yeah.
Some.
And just to explain in short what Wave is, it's an evaluation tool. It wasn't too many of you that had used it, which gives you an indicator of errors and warnings and what features, ARIA labels you have implemented in your website. And it also gives an indicator of how to fix the problem, but I wouldn't recommend that as was it FAUCET? What's that?
I think it's the easiest
Yeah.
tool to learn quickly.
Yeah.
Very appropriate for designers. You will actually learn how to read code while using it too. So it's, I think it's a very good tool. There, like she said, there's a lot of them. Site Improve. How many have tried Site Improve? Yeah, same, 3 people. They all do more or less the same. There are some differences, but you should decide on one and don't waste time on trying to learn all of them. And we have decided on using Wave because it's easy to learn and it gives you everything you need.
And last one, communication and knowledge sharing. For me was probably the lack of experience, and that I needed someone to get my brain going. So if you feel like you're sitting on a lot of information, share it. If you feel you lack the knowledge, then ask. And no matter what, you probably got someone that can get your brain start going forward to get some ideas. But for most important, if you learn how to use a screen reader and navigate through a keyboard, you will get a long way. Yes. One of the reasons why communication and knowledge sharing is so important is because different domains focus on different areas, and we have different passions and interests. So what is important to a developer is probably not the same that is important for a designer. And the prioritizing of those bugs will probably not be the same. For example, me as a developer would probably think that, okay, we need to focus on getting these forms and navigations and all of the other stuff needs to be accessible, while the designer might think that, okay, we need to have the user experience has to be totally perfect, and these designs need just a little bit of tweaking to be perfect and an amazing looking website. Yes, and then if you are lacking knowledge, then I would recommend you to, if you don't have anyone internally that you can add on, or you have a low budget, for example, then I would try as good as possible to get in an accessibility expert, or at least someone with knowledge, because it will make it easier, or it will make it more efficient to find the issues and prioritizing. Okay, these are really important, and these we can take we can put them back in there, not forget them, but we can put them in a later stage. But if not,
It's a fine way to ensure that you have found all the issues. Talking about existing websites that need fixing, like we have done a lot of this winter, hence the tilgjengelighetserklæring. Hiring an expert user in the end to go through and see that everything is as good as it needs to be is good advice. And also when you do practice internally, hiring an expert user while practicing user testing, for instance, is a good idea. He will give you a lot of advice. But you don't need it all the time. But for some occasions, it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, but if for some reason don't have money or knowledge or whatever to have an expert, or you can't find one, then start again. I'm gonna repeat this until it's stuck. Learn how to use screen reader. It gives a good overview. And Google best practice. Google is your best friend. You said that you should find your own best practice, but I will include on Google it, find it. You can decide with your team, is this the best practice we want to go forward with? And then probably when the next developer designer comes on, then you will probably need to update or change. But then you need to also document why. And as Frank said, focus on the problem solving. Problem solving. That's so much easier than focusing on the actual requirements, because within one requirement there are probably 5 subcategories of requirements, which have probably 50 other requirements. So, yeah.
There's a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
Among the requirements.
Yes. Horrible. But yeah, I decided to include one to show a little bit of how weird it is with the requirements. It's requirement 1.3.1, information and relation. That's the requirement. Which, short description, things should be coded as they look like. Yeah, decrypt. Yeah, it includes a lot of things, but one of the subcategories, maybe another one down there, but I think it's a subcategories, is about use of H1 to H6 to identify headings. Okay. So we had this issue that okay, I'll start with best practice. Best practice of headings is to follow, and you all probably know this, so it's probably boring, is to follow H1 to H2 to H3, etc. And you're not allowed to
never skip a level.
Yeah, never skip a level.
It is about.
And that was exactly our problem on, I think, almost all of our pages. Yeah. We skipped everyone from H1 to H3. And yeah, best practice said we're not allowed. It confuses a user that's trying to use a screen reader.
You have to say we didn't make them. We fixed them. We didn't make them in originally.
Oh, we didn't make them. Oh, yeah, I came in for the final bug fixes. Yes, I'm kidding. Yes. So, solution could be kind of easy, and some of you already probably have been through this, because this has been an issue. I talked to Amy, my boss, about this a couple of days ago, and she said that she had this problem in the 90s, and it's still an issue today. So, separate heading tags from header stylings. Sorry, I'm standing in the way of it. And our problem was that me as a developer said to the designer that I don't want header 3 styling on an H2 tag. And the designer said, so I tried to just put on the H2 styling, so my code was clean. But then the designer said, we can't have that large of a font size because that will take away the focus from the content of the rest of the content of the website. So it will ruin the user experience. So our problem was actually just the documentation. We needed to change from having H1, H2, H3, H4, H5. I'm not sure if anyone sees it so far away, but yeah. We need to change the wording into something else. And I won't say that this is the best naming because people can argue about naming for probably eternity. But we needed to change it into something else that fit, like, pleased both of us. So that was really the only issue, the documentation. And we were both following the documentation, so we were like, yeah. Yes. And then, what's the time?
We actually are quickly running out of time.
Are we running out of time?
Couple of minutes, 3 or 4 minutes again.
Okay, then I'll be really quick. Okay, then I'll just sum up. Importance about communication and collaboration is because if you learn basics about the other discipline, you will have a much better possibility to actually speak the same language. And I would recommend you to take your designer or developer, probably mostly developers here, and join in on creating the component library, because the component library is an important documentation that we use as a
tool.
Yes, thank you.
Reference. Yeah.
So do that together and get the naming correctly. Follow best practice, both of you or all of the team. Get to know kind of whatever you like. So I know I have this slide, but I'll just cover it quickly. That, like, you want to go to interests on if you're a developer, you want to learn this. If you're a designer, you will learn this. And when you talk together, then you kind of don't need to learn everything because you have someone else saying that, but this is also important, and you will get it into your bugs, in your, I'm not sure what kind of tools you're working with, but in your, we use Azure backlog, but Git, whatever. Focus on problem solving, not memorizing. Join the train. It's regulated by law, so if you don't join this now, you will probably, you will never lose. You won't jump out of the game, but you will have to learn it someday. So I'll just sum up. If you're a designer, learn screen reader. Focus on continue focusing on getting the best user experience. Layout structure. Do this with your developer so you have the namings right, or the same naming on the same thing. So when we talk about a heading, we talk about a heading. When we talk about a heading styling, we know that it's not the heading tag. Learn basic HTML and CSS. It's really good because whatever a designer sees is this. But if they also can see this and learn through, for example, if you take your designer, you show them inspect, and they will probably see pretty quickly that this is actually just exactly the same, just in a different kind of text visualization.
Yeah.
And the same with then include also to make sure that they have the landmarks, header, nav, main, side, section, footer, if they are implemented. Yes, same for a developer, screen reader, learn how to navigate through keyboard, and go back to basics. Everyone says that. Go back to basics on HTML and CSS. It's a good one. I like it. If you are a project manager or project owner, or if you are a customer or someone that is paying someone to help you out, Don't be scared to demand that you want your project to be accessible. And make sure that it's integrated in the workflow, because for a designer or developer or tester, it is easy to forget because there's so many cool stuff we're creating. So if this isn't a part from a higher level, then we will most likely kind of feel like we can't prioritize it. So it is really important to have it in the workflow and to know that, okay, this is something that we need to spend time on and money and yes, everything. So it is important to have it in the workflow and to be strict about it. Yeah, I'll skip the accessibility expert. They know best. And while, like Frank said,
We
why
can share
settle?
the slides
Yeah, why settle
online after.
with less? Share your knowledge, collaborate and set the rules together. Find the terminology that works for you. Make time for documentation and update it or upgrade it. Probably the same thing. Start with what you are passionate about regarding on your discipline, and think simple. Do you have anything more you want to add?
Practice, practice, practice.
Good.
Okay.
Yes. And we wanted to show a funny video, but we don't have to.
We'll share the link to that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
There's another lecture after us. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, guys.